Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Commander Culture. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon to you both.
Are you well?
I am well. I am in top form.
You feeling
ready for a good hour?
You feeling better now?
Yeah, I was a little bit off my game the other day, but I am back and ready to go for one of your famous nooners.
Did you catch a disease off one of the peasants?
I don't think so. I think it was I was probably experimenting. It was probably when I was experimenting with some rare virulent biological samples. Picked something up, but I am all good now.
Is the lab secure? Yes.
It is secure. Yes. We pressed the button. The flamethrower roasted everything, and not only the lab, but the rest of the island and the world is safe. Unlike Wuhan, China. So,
speaking of flame, I can't say it. Speaking of flame throwers, how's Mrs. Commander?
Oh, she is doing well. She's settling into her domestic role here at the fortress, and looking forward to perhaps even making a foray into the culture war herself. So,
just tell her just to make sure that the peasants have the jabs before she starts to mingle. Yes.
Yes, will do. Will do.
Good. So everything's good. Yes.
Everything's good on the home front. There's a lot of always high weirdness going on in the culture war, but that's par for the course.
Hail to PD Rich. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Writer, artist, Captain, Cockney, Spock. What's the last?
Esquire.
Are you okay, sir?
I am fine, rolling with it. Yep, tripolar in the house. Thank you very much. All good. As you were.
Monday, where you are, is it?
Fuck knows. Shit, man. No idea.
Got the Mondays.
No, it's Sunday night. I know technically it is Monday morning, 1:05 in the AM local time. That is correct. It is. Cripes, it's Happy Monday.
Indeed.
Yeah,
so
Mondays. You used to tell the truth, but now you're clever.
How many hours have you streamed today then?
2.
A few.
4. 3. No, 3. Well, none because it's Monday, but technically, no, 1.5.
Technically 3 minutes today, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Good one there. But yeah, was it? How much did I do with you before I bailed out? An hour and a half. So 3.
You did 90 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, so 90 minutes with you, and then 90 minutes with Black Phillip of Texas.
How did that go?
Brilliantly. Well, I don't know about the audience, but we loved it. We were buzzing off it for about 2 hours, having a mutual love fest. You were great. No, you were great. So Black Phillip, if you're out there, you were great. So yeah, good chemistry. It was good because I realised we had a bit of a basically Brits on my channel, and everyone needs a token American. You got yours on now, so
we have. But he is the token American, isn't he?
Exactly, he's all American. Where Philip's Texan, which he pointed out as a separate thing.
Is all helmets ours?
Yes.
All helmet. Open. His helmet's open all hours.
We've got our very own Stig on our channel. Beat that.
You can't. Oh, by the way, I noticed in the previous chat, I noticed that you didn't. The moment I left, I thought they're going to start talking about Blade Runner, but then
we thought about it.
You did, but then you turned it into Right Club. I mean, I noticed it happened spontaneously, but I thought, damn, he's having a Right Club. It was it's fascinating stuff. If I had more time, I would have listened to the whole thing. I've got to go back to it.
It was actually because I will say it was fascinating because I didn't have to say much.
Though just Swap Shop got right into it, didn't he?
He did. I was just listening, and it's fascinating stuff. It's really good.
Yeah. So that's that got the old neurons firing about writing and such things. So yeah, good. Jobs are good.
Yeah, I think the idea was we was going to get Matt on to do like an extended read of bits and bats
Oh yeah.
at some point. So
Oh, actually, that's good. That's a nice. If I do Write Club, you can do Read Club. That's perfect.
yeah, so so we've got that in the back burner. With regards, jobs are good, and yes. With regards,
Exactly.
yes. Sorry, mate. With regards, Matt Potts's Carry On. Do you remember we did suggested it the other Saturday or two
That
when
was you. Okay.
when we were
so you're
doing the
ahead of the curve.
yeah. Well, was it on the Rick Mayall stream?
Right. Yes. Because that's when we started talking about it. Because there was a modern Julian Clary was in the modern soft
Yeah.
reboot, as it were.
Yeah. By the way,
Right.
it's it would have been Rick Mayall's birthday today, so he's trending on Twitter at the moment.
So you're ahead of the curve again. Happy birthday, Ghost of Rick Mayall.
Yes, Commander. Do you know who Rick Mayall is?
No, I do not. That's a question mark for me.
Going back to the young ones. Do you remember when we said to you that you need to check out the young ones?
I do remember that. Yes, it's still on my list, pinned up to my wall.
Yes, Go on, mate.
Sorry. Someone pointed out on Twitter that he was basically like a proto SJW. He was virtue signaling. So it's quite ahead of the curve, even more of a genius than I realised when someone pointed that out via Twitter. I thought, yes, of course he was, with his little badges and his anti-Thatch and all that. He was fully right on. 40 years before it was really trendy. Brilliant.
I think he was one of these kind of once in a lifetime characters. What do you reckon?
Once in every lifetime.
Nice. Indeed.
All right.
I didn't even know I was making that joke. Well done, mate.
See, you're so clever. You don't know how clever you are. That's what's so special about you. You're ahead of your own curve.
One day, hopefully, I'll catch up.
Exactly, catch up to yourself.
PD Rich in the chat said, basically last night's stream, Right Club, then it descended into a conversation on special effects, armoring for the film industry, and then tinnitus. That's how ahead of the curve we are.
Wow. Special effects, eh? CGI.
Okay. Oh. Drop Dead Fred. Yeah, I do know that movie. Oh, okay. Lord Flashheart. Okay, yeah. Now it's all coming back to me.
Aha.
Right. I got the hook. That's too bad. That is too bad. Because, Flashheart was a good one.
He went far too young. I think he was in it. Was he
52,
3?
Yeah, I don't know, so I'm not going to guess.
That's my age.
I believe it was 50. It's pretty much our age, isn't it? Yeah. I'll have
Here
a cup of tea for Rick.
And PD Rich, spot on.
What? Perfect.
So, going back to Carry On, shall we do that this week? What do you reckon?
Yep, set it up, make it happen. Up the Khyber.
You're invited, Matt, if you fancy coming on with that. So, hopefully, some point this week. If we don't do it during the week, shall we definitely set it up for next Saturday?
Sure.
What do you reckon? Yeah, we'll do it at some point this week. Yeah. Yeah, he is right. Nobody's ever really covered them, so it would be quite fun to go through them. So, yeah. Okay, so fun stuff out the way. Commander, anything
Let's
get serious.
Well, one of the things I read earlier today before coming on was a New York Times article that was starting to take aim at the Looney Tunes. I think we can probably be in before Overlord DVD on this one. They're saying that they're going to start censoring or cutting out Pepe Le Pew, the skunk, the amorous skunk of Looney Tunes. If you guys are familiar with him,
yeah, too, doesn't he?
What's that?
He's been Me Too. Did you get a written
Yeah,
consent
yeah, yeah.
form?
They say, some in their typically unfun way. There's nothing funny about sexual advances on an unwilling victim and this and that, blah 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 blah. Completely failing in to point out that Pepe Le Pew is of course a skunk. And the target of his affection is a cat, and the reason that she doesn't accept his amorous advances is because she's a cat, not because he's doing something wrong. If he's a real ladies skunk, and if she was a skunk for real, then she would be all over him. But so this is just one more little example. I guess they went on from Dr. Seuss, if you heard about all of that, and now they're on to Looney Tunes. They can't leave any stone unturned. And speaking of proto SJWs, I mean, heck, Dr. Seuss himself was quite the globalist in his day, and and he's been censored before in the United States, for criticizing the Cold War. And there were books of his that were taken out of libraries when I was a kid that criticized the Cold War, and now it's ironically hilarious to see that he's both being canceled as a racist, and also was the target of Cold Warriors, if you will, back in the day. So, Speedy Gonzalez, Matt. We haven't seen hide nor hair of him in a while, nor Slowpoke Rodriguez, which particularly chaps my hide. But
we don't see the Warner Brothers, the Merry Melodies cartoons. The cartoons that you grew up on as a kid.
Mm-hmm. 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 Oh yeah.
Where are they? They've gone.
They are gone. Some of these they'll bring back, like Tom and Jerry. They have new Tom and Jerry's, but they're how do I explain it? They're very sanitized.
On the old Tom and Jerry, you would have the the old mama,
the nanny. Yeah.
Who used to go, Thomas,
you get back here.
Thomas.
That's sexist. That's racist. That's sizist.
You're a bad kitty cat. But yeah, and that was part of the fun thing too. I mean, they didn't mock that character. They just acknowledged that she existed, and I find it particularly kind of chilling that they're willing to erase characters who just simply existed in the past. They did this with Gone with the Wind, which they said was racist, and so they took it off of all the platforms, despite the fact that it featured the first African American to ever win an Academy Award. It's like you've just destroyed that woman's career. A female African American, no less, and so it's like it's getting. The pace of the revolution of wokeism is speeding up, and we'll be in Jacobin territory in no time. So when PD Rich says, "Can we manipulate and transform cancel culture into a suicide cult?" They're doing it for us. They're the revolutions always eat their own. This is a famous truism, and they will, and they are. I mean, when Dr. Seuss is their target, that the target of the left, then that they're way out in the field, way out in the field. So HB Max remade Looney Tunes with their point. They're like Space Jam or some stupid thing like that. They're not the old fun stuff.
And that which Jam Rabbit shenanigans.
And that which they have remade, like Animaniacs. They brought those back, but they brought them back as a hardcore. SJWs, and of course it was short-lived, and nobody enjoyed it because that was what made them cool before, was that they were really edgy, even though they had a liberal tint even back then, that was distasteful to people on the right.
Mel Blanc's voice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Mel Blanc?
He did some voices
did Looney
for
Tunes?
sure.
Yeah, the guy who did all the voices.
That's all you're all cancelled, folks.
The guy who did Tweaky out of Buck Rogers.
Beep, beep, beep. Okay, Buck.
Okay, Buck.
So yeah, I'm sure Michelle Obama is not Dr. Seuss's #1 fan anymore. She was, and
Uh,
then she wasn't. So
this
the,
is.
the,
Can
the,
you? I just thought. Can you imagine when they come for that English magazine Viz? It's like,
Oh
dear
dear.
fat slags, we find your content rather, and also Sid the sexist. We also take umbrage to Johnny Fart Pants. It's just,
Roger
and as
Mele's
for
still about.
Roger me, hello, good evening, and bollocks. And as for the bottom inspectors, that's right out. It's not going to happen. They'll never cancel Viz. I dare you. I double dare you, SJWs. You will never get rid of
Commander,
the fat slags.
have you ever read Viz?
no, but I get the sense from this conversation that it's kind of like Mad Magazine in America. Maybe
That's a
similar.
good comparison. I mean, it's very
Turned up
English,
to
so
11.
it's as close as anything because it's incomparable. But yeah, it's kind of Mad Magazine crossed with Radio Times, crossed with the Beano, crossed with the Carry On film, crossed with something offensive, crossed with a fart. Basically, it was. I mean, I don't know where it came from. It's just from out of nowhere in the late '80s. It was one of those things. It was just so its own
It's still
thing.
going.
Is it still after all these years? Is it
Yeah,
really?
Viz.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure. People in the chat say if I'm wrong or right. I don't know, but I'm sure Viz is still going.
I actually met the fat slags on holiday once. But anyway, that's another story.
That's another story.
Malia 94. Don't fancy yours much. Still, it was Joker night. But anyway, back less said about my toxic male days, the better.
Matt Potts used to read Buster.
Buster Blood Vessel. Oh no, that's music. That's something else.
It is. I've heard of Buster. Is that Australian?
Oh, Buster. Is that like Jackie? Was that one of those girls' magazines? I'm not sure. With the photo stories. Buster, it rings a bell, but no, my brain keeps going back to Buster Blood Vessel.
Matt, could you elaborate Buster? I've heard of it. Is it British or Australian or I don't know?
Or what?
It's not American.
I don't even know what day it is. So
Philippines.
Yeah.
I know what year it is. I don't know who I am anymore.
I know. That's one of the worst things about this lockdown stuff is I don't know what. There's been times I've woke up and I've not known what day it was. What about you, Cockney?
Sometimes I wake up and I can't remember which continent I'm in. I've had one of those flying dreams. I'm like, which side of the planet am I living on? But a theme I'll be exploring in my forthcoming short story and screenplay. But anyway,
Matt says Buster is British like Beano.
Oh, it is okay. Because I remember there's Beano, then there was Whizzer and Chips, wasn't there? And then the Jocks and the Geordies.
Oh yes, yeah.
And
I learned from this that bollocks was a dirty word.
Bullocks or bollocks?
I'm assuming that's auto spell. Bollocks.
Yeah, bollocks. Bollocks. Hello, good evening, and bollocks. Yeah, it means your testicles. Like Buster Gonad. That was a street. I like to see them cancel that. Buster Gonad and his unfeasibly large testicles. Hi, folks. Literally walks around with his testicles in a wheelbarrow because they're so huge. And then comedy capers ensue from that. Mr. Logic.
Yeah.
I predict ejaculation will commence in about 5 seconds presently. Anyway, fantastic.
I think if it's still published, we should buy Commander Culture a copy and send him it.
We've got to send. Someone send Commander Culture a Viz.
Yeah, essential bathroom reading.
Definitely.
If you know what I mean, Commander.
I think Roger Melly came out with a book because he had so many newfangled swear words he came up with. I think he actually came up with I can't remember, there's some punny title, a sweary dictionary that whose name escapes me. Someone in the chat, can you look up Roger Melly, the man on the telly, sweary dictionary? What was the punny title? Because fucked if I know.
I think you'd enjoy the comic, Commander, especially when you're nipping one off in the bathroom, as it were.
Nipping one off.
I'll.
That could mean 3 different things. Does that involve seashells?
Seashells, yeah. He doesn't know how to use the seashells.
If that's foreplay, I'm a dead man.
So there's the foreplay with dead men.
See, you don't get conversations like this on your channel, do you, Commander?
No, we don't. We don't.
No, you don't.
Oh, nice. Now we've got to get Arnie in as well. Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
I can do an Arnold Schwarzenegger as well, but not as good as Sylvester. Yes, because you see, he was my governor of California when I lived there. We saw him on television every single day telling us, yes, please eat good food. It's good for your body. Make you strong like me.
That's good. You've got the nuances and everything. Good work. Good work, Stig.
No problem. Anytime.
I knew there was more to you than money.
Money? Where's this?
The
Buried
Star
in the
Wars
backyard.
reference.
That's Mrs. Commander.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I have yet to destroy a Death Star, though.
Commander, I've got a challenge for you.
Okay.
When you do one of your videos, you've got to do it in character, full Arnie from start to finish.
I wonder if I'd get a copyright strike. I mean, I'm that good. So.
Oh.
No, I could probably do it. I don't know.
Yeah, when you do one of your fine monologues, do it in this. Just picture yourself as being Arnie, Governor Schwarzenegger.
It's not a tumor.
He's not a tumor. You kids are driving me crazy.
Now let's play a game called Who's Your Daddy and What Does He Do?
What does he do? See you at the party, Richter. Yes. All the good lines.
Yeah, that's probably what he had anyway.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, back in the day,
nice.
Back in the day. Not now because he's healthy, of course. Just be some
That's
tofu and some asparagus and then home for tea
and
at
some
8 o'clock.
and some Mexican maids,
Yeah, and exactly. If the maid's still up, then maybe up for another 20 minutes.
That's that'll do it.
Mustard and sausage. You remind me of Maria Schreiber. You're just shout out Kennedy.
Oh, I thought I was talking to you. I'm talking to a broomstick. Yeah. I was watching a movie. I wish I could remember which one it was. It was one of those forgettable Arnie movies of the early 2000s, where and I was watching it with an Austrian friend of mine. No, Sixth Day. That's the one with the clones. I am a clone. No, you are a clone.
I know. Kindergarten Terminator.
I would watch that one. Well, actually, wasn't that the Star Wars prequel?
No.
Probably.
Oh, very good.
But no, and I was watching this with my Austrian friend, and he said, at one point in this line, because Arnie had been captured and was being held hostage in Central America or something, and
Collateral.
it was collateral damage. Yeah, there you go. Collateral damage. Oh man, that brings me back. And he said to me, he turns to me and he says, his German is terrible, and I was like, what? Really? You're kidding me. He said, I thought he'd speak. He's like, no, man, his pronunciation is way off. And I said, well, I feel sorry for that SOB because his English sounds terrible also. So he just can't speak any language, but
Arnold
who's going to correct him?
Arnold.
He speaks Arnold. I speak Arnold.
I'm the governor.
Cockney, can you see that in the chat from PD?
Nah, my eyes are fucked because of all the lack of sleep. What's it say? Something dark
says,
side.
Geez, Captain Cockney, I can't put on any of the Roger Melee show names without a comment being deleted by YouTube algorithm.
They're that bad. Excellent. Hello, good evening, and bollocks. Oh well, you'll have to check it out. Do your own research after the show. Just Roger Mellie, Mellie, Roger.
Shall we just have a little bit of fun stuff? To about half hour, then we'll do some
straight to the bombing.
Yeah, should we do that instead of doing it the opposite way around?
What's talk about, and then we could make talking about with politics. We could do like a bombing bingo. Which country's going to get bombing Stone Age next? Okay, I got $5 on Eastern Syria, and $20 on Iran.
Arnie wouldn't have done this, would he?
No, he'd
No.
probably go for Central America. Why
Do
can't we
you,
go back? What about the Contras?
Do you think, Commander, it would have been good for America
Iran-Contra.
to have President Arnold?
Let me see. When was he talking about running? It was.
When was he the running man? That would have been
Forever.
84. The running
Well,
man.
it wasn't that long ago. I mean, he it was probably like 2010 or 2008, something like that, when that was being talked about. I would say no for two reasons. One, because, well, two reasons no and one reason yes. The first reason yes, because he's kind of a uniter. Like, everybody likes him. Everybody,
Oh, controversial.
Well, he's uncontroversial, I think. I mean, as a political figure, it's like you're not going to look at him and say, oh, he's trying to rob from me or something like that. He's basically the same kind of businessman that Trump was, in that it's like, well, I see a distressed property, California or the United States, whatever it is, and I need to make investments in various areas to increase the value of that distressed property.
Yeah.
Whether it's a gym or whether it's a high rise in New York or whatever. And as a governor, he did that. And he put a lot of the rancor that had been part of California politics off to the side. And I don't know if you know this with California, the governor who came in right before Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually recalled, which is no, a very boring guy named Gray Davis, who's as boring as his name sounds. But basically, he was like impeached, and his only crime, his real crime, was just being boring. And being lame, and so he got the ire of both sides, and they just kicked him out, and there was a lot of upset feeling. So Arnold came in and ran, and everyone loved him, and he kept the state going on an even keel from a business perspective, an economic perspective, investment. Obviously there were no problems with civil rights or anything then, or really even race relations in California at that time. So it was good times. Now, if you move that up to the national level, I would say it wouldn't be good at all. For one, they would have had to change the Constitution to allow foreigners basically to become president. And I'm not really a fan of that. That's even come up with some people like John McCain, who were born on American military bases outside of the United States. They're like, is this guy even eligible? And
maybe that would be good, just to kind of stir things up a bit, a fresh perspective.
Well, I mean, how's Mr. Khan's fresh perspective helping out London? I would say not very well. And when you get people who have outside perspectives trying to fix an inside problem, when you have plenty of inside people that are ready, willing, and able to fix that same problem, it leaves one scratching one's head.
What's the inside problem then?
With America?
Yeah.
I mean, everything. You've got I mean, we'll just, like, the easy one to pick is constitutional problems. I mean, you have a constitution that says free speech is allowable, and then you have platforms like the big YT here, censoring people, right? So where does the government's inability to ban certain speech stop, and private companies which work with the government or are even funded by the government, like Google, where does that then pick up? I mean, it's a big question. You move on to the Second Amendment, to the Fourth Amendment, to all of this stuff, and it's just a huge, giant, steaming mess. And then if you want to look at economic problems, at racial problems, at cultural problems, which is what I like to look at, and it's just it's almost insolvable at this point. So throwing somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger into the mix wouldn't really help things, because what he would do is kind of what he did in California. He wouldn't rebuild the foundations that are crumbling. He would gloss over the top and make a nice stable image from above. It's like painting a really nice mural on a crumbling brick wall, right? It's going to look really nice. It's going to make people feel better, but it's not going to solve the long-term problems that are involved structurally.
A Banksy painting, then, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
A Banksy on a balsa wood.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're not going to get that kind of a fix with an Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's the other reason why. It's not just the fact that the Constitution itself would have to get switched around to accommodate him in particular. It's that the problems that America faces also are kind of outside of his particular wheelhouse. I mean, whatever you would say about, for example, Hillary Clinton or Trump or George Bush or any of these people, they all have their own particular, uniquely American stake in trying to gain power, right? What they want to do with that. Whereas with Arnold, it would be different, or any other sort of foreign celebrity or politician. Now, maybe that would be a good thing. I don't know. I'm just saying my own interpretation would be that it would be more negative than positive in the long run.
Cockney, you lived in the States. What do you think?
I did. Yeah, well, in New York, which is its own separate.
That's not
thing.
really the United States.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a separate entity of its own accord. So I'm no constitutional scholar, but this isn't directly relevant to Arnie, but there's ostensibly a 2-term limit to any president in the United States. You can only do 2 terms unless you do 4. Didn't we have a 4-term president?
There's a 2-term limit now that was passed in the late 40s after Franklin Roosevelt.
Oh, it's after Roosevelt, so it wasn't at the beginning. Oh, okay.
No. Most presidents, but the reason was because George Washington had limited himself to 2 terms. He was unanimously reelected both times. And then, he said, I'm going to step down. They're like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, it's a term thing. And I think 2 is the most that any person should be in charge. And so almost all presidents up through Roosevelt either honored that or were forced to honor that by their party. Roosevelt just sort of bulldozed right through it, and said, well, it doesn't say anything about this. And then when Truman, took over after Roosevelt died, he was like, yeah, that was kind of crazy. And they amended that pretty quickly. So yeah,
not
2
crazy
terms.
as dropping a couple of nuclear bombs, but anyway.
Do you think that's still relevant today?
The 2-term presidency?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I think 1 term is probably a little too short if somebody thinks they have more to do, and I think that more than 2 terms is kind of imperial, if you will. No offense to my United Kingdom friends, but
we are very offended.
The thing is,
I could do some right now.
Because presidents would, if there wasn't that 2nd term limit. A lot nowadays with the modern presidency, I think you would see a lot longer presidencies. Bill Clinton would have been reelected almost for sure. George W. Bush would have been reelected almost for sure. Barack Obama would have been reelected almost for sure. So it's just sort of this ongoing sort of thing because of the way that the media works, because of the way that people's brains are sort of attuned. It's just you vote for the status quo, and pretty soon we'd still have President Bill Clinton. And I don't think that that's necessarily healthy. I'm a fan of term limits in general.
It'll keep all the laundromats busy, wouldn't it? The old washing machines would be going 24/7. Know what I mean, Monica? Get that dress clean. Yeah. Get all these dresses clean. Come on now.
Do you think
I'm in for 12 years? Come on.
What about 3 terms, or is that still too much?
I think the terms should be shorter. They should be 6-month terms. That'd keep it exciting, wouldn't it? Having
that very expensive.
Then it would be like Italy, would just be like Italy, switching over governments every 6 months. But no, I think the 2-term limit is good. I come down on the side of George Washington on that particular issue. Yeah.
There you go. The commander has spoken.
And how is Biden getting on? I know that's a very kind of open-ended question.
Salute the Marines.
Well. I mean,
Marines.
His presidency is very bizarre. If you want to, I will get into all my personal thoughts and stuff, but just from an objective,
Please
like
do.
this is an American view, just a general American view, by this time in the presidency, 2 months in, he hasn't, he skipped the State of the Union address. He hasn't had a major press conference. He hasn't attended functions. He hasn't traveled. It's very weird. It's kind of like a new prime minister gets elected and they just go into number 10 Downing Street and they're seen in the window occasionally. But then all this policy comes out and all of these foreign interventions come out, and the only videos you see are of the executive saying, "I don't even know what I'm signing," in a state of semi-senility.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's really weird.
He's not died, has he?
No. I think he's still around.
He's technically alive. His heart's still beating.
His heart's still beating,
dead.
but I don't.
Brain death.
But I don't think his mind is in it.
Nah.
And so yeah, to me anyway, he's always going to be president-select. Because he was anointed, and I think that. Like a lot of presidents, we could point to George W. Bush. We could point to, even Obama, and we could say that these people are water carriers for a much larger movement, right? Whether it's neoconservatism or neoliberalism or whatever. But you'd had the fiction that this guy is out there on their own. You had the fiction that George W. Bush was, kind of a folksy, cowboy talking, good old, elbow nudging barbecue partner, and that Obama was some kind of eloquent, Martin Luther King reincarnated who stuttered a lot. But really, these people weren't formulating their own plans. They had a larger group behind them that had their own motives. Well, with Biden, you can't maintain that fiction. He's just very much the empty suit who occupies the office. And so you're left to wonder who's calling the shots. Before, you could say, well, George W. Bush, he's telling Dick Cheney this, and Obama is going out and making these great speeches. With Biden, everyone's scratching their head going, who's really in charge? And it's not just American citizens, right?
Yeah,
it's the heads of state of other countries. Well, even Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris, by the way, she comes from California, the Bay Area of California, of all places, which I know a lot about, and she is a non-entity. She's an intellectual and policy lightweight. She's not in tune with the zeitgeist of the sort of, progressive leftist SJW type thing. She's more of a grifter who's kind of in it for herself. This is where she gets her famous nickname, Knee Pads Harris, if you're familiar with that story. And she's just sort of,
No,
been promoted. Oh, you don't know
football?
About this?
No. Well, I heard something that could be. I didn't know about the knee pads. Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, she got her start in politics by let me see, vigorous fellatio of a mayor of San Francisco.
Vigorous.
And he promoted her. Well, he certainly enjoyed it. He kept her around, and he made her district attorney, all because of that. She just happened to have a law degree, and
I've been watching too much Police Academy.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so then she does this, and she occupies this position for many years, and being a district attorney,
Jesus,
is not it's not the most executive job in the world, right? You're prosecuting specific criminals, and in her case, it was everything you've heard bad about San Francisco from Gary at Nerdrotic specifically, or anyone else, comes from her era, right? You could blame certain mayors, but she's the one that was in charge of enforcing the law during all of that time, and it fell apart. The city fell apart. It became a haven of scum and villainy. And so then she's promoted up to senator of California, sort of just vaulted up because there were certain scandals going on in San Francisco, and she was promoted up. And now she's promoted up to vice president. So she doesn't have policy chops. It's very, very much the same as with what happened with Barack Obama. If you followed his, thing, he was a nobody, and then he was a state senator during a special election. Then he became a national senator during a special election, and then all of a sudden he's running for president and beating Hillary Clinton. So you can imagine her consternation, when this amateur comes and beats her. Well, that it's the same with Kamala Harris, except I don't think that she has the vision that Obama would have had. She's just there to, say yes, and can finally take the knee pads off, I think.
Ooh.
There
But
you
yeah.
go.
PD Rich, don't tell me you've got a part-time president.
We've got a 0-time president.
0 hours contract.
We've got, because I mean, if you could say during the George W. Bush presidency that Cheney was running things, which he partly was, Biden is non-existent. He's like, in the old Soviet Union when they had like Andropov and these kind of guys just senile drooling on themselves because they had been in the revolution. Well, that's what's going on here, and Kamala Harris is not making policy decisions. I guarantee you they're not going to let her near, the nuclear football or anything like that. She was hired to be the vice president for one very, very specific reason. And that was for, to tick all the boxes in progressivism. She's, multiracial.
Show business. Show business.
She's, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. She ran for president, against Joe Biden. She was notoriously unpopular. She was a very unpopular senator in California, even among progressives.
Do I smell reefer? Hey, hippie, you're under arrest.
And a part-time PM. We take Boris Johnson, I think. We like people with crazy hair.
You can have him.
We like people with crazy hair. Wait, I'm missing some comments here in the thing that they're.
We're all in this together. Puller.
Oh yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. Hey, I'd take Teddy Roosevelt any day. Bully. That guy.
He saved a teddy bear, hence his name. Why, hence the Teddy's name. The Teddies were named after him, not the other way around, isn't it? I can't.
Yeah, and I don't
that
think
teddy bear. Okay, Teddy.
I don't think he liked that nickname. I was reading somewhere that some like journalist or something said, "Hey, you're Teddy Roosevelt." He's like, "It's Theodore." It's like, "Oh, okay, sorry, buddy."
See, a Theodore bear. That's not as catchy, is it? What do you want for Christmas, son? I'll have a Theodore bear, please. I'll have a Roosevelt bear.
Well, if we swapped Johnson for either one of Biden or Harris or both of them, I think you guys would think that you'd got the worst of the deal.
Johnson,
because
Johnson, the American name for.
Good point.
Yeah, at least his name's not Peter Johnson, right?
Trump. Trump was the English name for fart.
Like Johnny Fart Pants.
Trump and Johnson.
For a bit of a Trump.
Yeah. Trump and Johnson.
What does Farage mean?
It should mean something, shouldn't it? Oh, I like a bit of a Farage. Is that like felching? I don't know. You're right. It's Farage sounds like a rude word. We should think up some vague, obscure sexual act to go with it. Oh, would you like a Farage? Oh, that's extra. How dare you? Ow. Oh, I had a lovely Farage yesterday.
Ferrero Farage.
A quick lunchtime Farage. Is that like a hand job that goes nowhere? That'd be a Farage, wouldn't it? You pull out like Europe. Oh, I was gonna. Oh, nice Farage. Pulled out all over Europe.
Oh boy. All right. Well, where were we now?
Apparently, he's retired from politics. I read today. I don't know if that's true or not. He's literally today retired from politics.
So I saw something about that. No, I think the announcement that I read saw that there was some party, forgive me for my ignorance, but called Reform UK or something like that. And he said he's stepping down from leadership of that party, which I'd never heard of. But, you're one of those parliamentary groups and you have new parties popping up every 3 weeks. So
all the time. UKIP, POOKIP.
Conservatives, Labour. Yeah. Liberal. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Liberal Democrats, Gang of Four.
Do you guys have a Green Party there? There must be a Green Party too. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's got a
All
Green
right.
Party. Who doesn't have a Green Party these days? They never get anywhere. Oh, we gained a seat every 10 years. Well done. Ice caps are still melting, aren't they?
I just think it needs to be run like a business, and that's why I was kind of in on. I didn't have a problem with Trump, and I was kind of open to it when he got in, just because
Yeah.
I knew he'd run it as a business.
Right. Well, I think
Because his
and
businesses did so well.
it had never been run well. Let's be honest here. His businesses did as well as the laws that were constructed around business allowed him to be. So, okay, let me elaborate on that real quick. Because when I was a kid, I remember the funniest thing was always making fun of this guy named Donald Trump with gold toilets who was going bankrupt. It was like all the jokes on the schoolyard. And you'd see him on TV and every once in a while. And then I grow up and I'd thinking, wow, why did he go bankrupt all those times? Well, it's sort of a ploy. Right. When you're a certain amount of wealth, right, you can get loans from just about anybody and go and build something. And if a development is going south, or if you think that a development is going south, you can just declare bankruptcy. It's kind of like, and it's somehow less scummy because it's these big bank guys defrauding each other. Right. Whereas if it's us, basically it's like one of us taking a credit card, maxing it out to $40,000, going to Harrods, buying all that cool stuff, and then we just default on the credit card. We declare bankruptcy. You can't get me, but I still have all my cool stuff. And that's what he did when he went bankrupt. And but usually in the wake of a bankruptcy, he made the property that he had been investing in better than it was before. This is sort of unlike a lot of rapacious business. Leave it destroyed, which is why, like Mr. Brown, I was optimistic when he came in as well, saying, oh, well, he continually builds things up. It's kind of like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Actually, you know what? That's true. It's tax efficient to make a loss. I've just discovered this myself. Actually, you're right.
Yes.
I'm doing business the Donald Trump way now. I'm hemorrhaging money left and right. But it's very good it's good for the tax bill. I actually got a tax rebate of $5 the other week. So
right.
It's only $5, but as opposed to a tax bill.
Yeah. But if the tax code encourages you to default or to go into bankruptcy or to operate at a loss, you're always going to be operating at a certain loss. And then you jump ahead because obviously you want to gain when you're a businessman when you can, and then you continue to operate at a loss. And that was his sort of strategy, as I saw it. And he had mentioned that. Yeah,
he's my hero. I've just my new broadcasting business just went into the red today because I had to pay up for my StreamYard. So I'm in the red. Yay! I'm making a loss. All right. Yes. Winning equals losing, and losing equals winning in today's tripolar topsy-turvy world.
PD Rich says Urban Dictionary says a farage is a Spanish word meaning the flip-flop used by Latin mothers to beat their children's bottoms.
Hey, Pedro! Hey, I got a farage for you. Ah, mama!
Jesus. Can you believe that?
Possibly.
Go on, you were saying...
PD Rich said so. What are you saying, Commander?
So we were saying about Trump tax loss. And I was hoping that he would break the 2-party politics cycle. I know he kind of affiliated to the
kind of has.
Yeah, I was going to say he has. He's in the process of doing that right now.
Because the Republican Party kind of doesn't know whether to go. Oh yeah, well, don't know who that guy was, and half of them are going, yeah, we missed Trump already. So he kind of has destroyed. And if you destroyed one of the parties, and it's a one party. I mean, I think the US is becoming effectively one party system. This week, it's all about the Democrats for the media, isn't it? This election, so it has become a one party system. Therefore, not a democracy. That's
I
the
would
thing.
say I would follow up on that and say that it's been a one-party system for quite a while. It's just that they make a pretense of a theatrical pretense of having
Yep.
two different sides that
Yes.
sort of reach across the aisle, as they like to say.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
More like
but
a
it's
reach
really
around.
been a uniparty. And what Trump did is he's exposed the fiction of the two parties just by winning, because you had these people, they were called never Trumpers, in America. And even those people, now that Trump is out and they can see that his influence is very strong on the, Republican or on the right wing side in America. They're saying, well, we're going to just form our own party, and they would have maybe 10% support, if they went off and created their own party. And so in that way, he has destroyed the two-party system, because everyone knows that it's a joke now. They know that half of their leadership, or way more than half of their leadership that are in the Republican Party, are on the either working against them or working with the other side, and so then everyone's reevaluating exactly what the political situation is for them on the street when you have a uniparty above you, because what Cockney Spock, like you were saying, that's not democracy. And when you have a country that says, we're all about democracy, we're going to make the world safe for democracy, we're the world's greatest democracy, and you go, wait a minute, in the name of whatever you guys are calling democracy, we've launched, dozens of foreign wars. We've, launched crusades against, all kinds of people. We've changed our culture. And now this is clearly not a democracy, what we're seeing. And that is what I think that Trump was setting out to do, is to expose the farce that is the American ruling class. So, and I think he was successful in that, very successful. And I think he's going to continue to be successful, at least if his speech, which I read at the convention, the conservative convention the other day, is any indication.
Before YouTube took it down.
Did they take it down? I just read the transcript. I didn't.
I watched, because I do sometimes catch a bit of RT, which of course is Russia Today, but they are one of the more popular channels on YouTube. And Polly Bites, who's a very good reporter, quite beautiful as well.
Is that not parrots?
Polly, Pretty Polly, and she said that they basically they got a takedown. They got the speech taken down, even though the Independent wasn't taken down. So there's basically YouTube openly censoring Donald Trump's speech. They're taking it down. So
they've already done this with Twitter.
Twitter.
They pulled him off.
And it's so it's like when you have a technological oligarchy, or whatever you want to call it, censoring and deplatforming a sitting president, this is what you would call in any other country, a coup. And
which we said many weeks ago, remember, on this channel, we were the first to say, weren't we, that it's not a good thing censoring the president, the main man. Didn't we say that?
You said that.
Yeah.
Did I?
Someone did, wasn't it you?
Somebody did. Somebody on this channel did. I think
it was your channel. You can take credit.
I think it was a group decision that it was not a good thing that effectively Twitter silenced the most powerful man in the world, and nobody was putting two and two together about that. They were seeing other things, basically saying, "Oh, it's Trump. Good riddance, blah, blah, blah," not realizing that the technology companies are silencing the main man, which for me,
they can do it to him.
That is a problem, is it not? That is a problem.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody's picked up on it.
Talking about you, Jack Dorsey, and get your beard cut as well, you hippie.
I'm sure you guys have heard the saying, but it's worth relating. There was I think he was a philosopher in Germany in the 1930s, And his statement was, when they came for the communists, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a communist.
Yeah.
When they came for the Christians, I didn't say anything because I was a Christian. When they came for the Jews, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. And when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, what we're seeing here. A lot of people don't speak up when somebody like Alex Jones gets deplatformed. And then they don't speak up when somebody like, Glenn Beck or Ben Shapiro or somebody gets deplatformed. Then they don't speak up when President Trump himself, because he's a nasty man and he has bad opinions and he rubs them the wrong way, gets deplatformed. And pretty soon it's going to be, third grade teachers who are trying to talk about Dr. Seuss in their classroom who are getting deplatformed. And, this is the revolution proceeding apace. This is the revolution consuming its own. And it's a textbook example. It's a textbook sort of window into totalitarian creep that we saw in many examples in the 20th century. And it's all being repeated here with a nice technological sheen over the front.
Yeah, nicely put, like mission creep, but with the technology.
Deep.
It is. It's the boiling frog,
Deep.
isn't it? If they did it suddenly, we'd notice, but if they do it gradually, true, very clever. The gradual silent takeover, the boiling frog. Yep, the frog of war.
This is why we get you on the channel, Commander.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Cruel here says the same thing sort of as I. It says people don't have to like Trump, but that doesn't mean he isn't the right man for the job. And that's the essence of that.
Agreed.
The people who don't like Trump, many of them, they're not liberals, but they say, he rubs me the wrong way, or I don't like the way he talks, or I think he's disrespectful, or I think he's stupid, or something like this. And it's like, well, does any of that actually really matter? If he's the right person for the job. I mean, General Patton was not the kind of guy that I would want to serve under as an infantryman, but he was the right guy to beat, Rommel and to, win the Battle of the Bulge. And so,
good example.
This is the, this is the conundrum that you face sort of in a democracy, if you want to call it that, where it's a popularity contest. That's what it comes down to. Now, that worked in Trump's favor at one point. But there were a lot of people also militating against him because of that popularity factor. Now, I personally, without, don't want to get you deplatformed or anything, but, I think that there were irregularities that need to be addressed before we can talk about a legitimate Biden presidency. So, Trump still had the support of the American people, by and large.
Nice historical example, by the way, because he did get those tanks moved up to Bastogne pretty damn quick, didn't he?
And he did that. Well, he did that partly by stealing gas from Monty, the poor SOB. But also scaring the living hell out of all of his subordinates. We are getting up there. I don't care who I have to shoot, who I have to court-martial, and and he found new ways of motivating them, as Darth Vader.
Yeah, we've got to stop that because that was basically the last German counterattack before the end of the war, really, wasn't it? The Bulge was basically that was their last ditch attempt because they were trying to build back towards was it Antwerp because there was transport issues because it's a question. I mean, getting into war tactics, but it's always a question of supply lines. And in fact, the German thrust partly failed because they themselves did run out of fuel, although. So I'm getting away from politics into specific World War II battle
stimulating
tactics.
yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, when you said back of the Bulge gives me a bulge. I tell you, it's one of the brilliant.
Well, and here, that probably as well as I do, the Germans actually didn't have enough fuel even when they launched the attack. It was predicated on them capturing the American supplies to begin with, and when they weren't able to capture enough of those, it petered out, or Johnsoned out, however you want to say it. But
nicely put. Nice. Penis joke with a historical reference. You can only get that on the Ground Channel.
Yeah.
It was a right old cock up.
On all sides, the Americans were overconfident, and part of the reason that the Battle of the Bulge happened in the first place is because there was a bulge. That was Patton's hubris, sort of driving through the Ardennes forest, where Monty was saying we need to take, basically, the British were taking that northern approach, and they're like, we have to get to Antwerp slowly, contain that whole northern, North Sea type area.
Yeah,
we're not going to go through the forest. That's crazy. And Monty said, and Patton said, no, we're going to drive through, and he did anyway. And he created this bulge that the Germans were like, hey, wow, we're going to take advantage of this, pinch this off, destroy the entire American 3rd Division, and then roll into Antwerp and do another Dunkirk.
Right.
But
but they couldn't take Bastogne, as famously
I know they couldn't.
shown in Band of Brothers.
101st Airborne. Hoorah.
I think I may need to revisit Band of Brothers.
Gotta watch Band of Brothers. Excellent show, and especially for me,
everybody in the chats, we all should revisit Band of Brothers.
Write that down. That'd be another Brown special.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pop that into the chats. Band of Brothers, because reading some of the comments in the chat, I think people are into all this guy, properly into this type of stuff. Anyway, we'll go to 90 minutes, guys. Yeah.
Yes. That's what
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, because an hour feels like 10 minutes. Just like good sex on these broadcasts. Exactly. This is just like still on the foreplay.
Yeah, we're just getting into it. Commander, I know Trump is he going for 2024, isn't it?
He says let me rephrase that. He indicates and makes points in the direction of doing that. Yes.
Check, indicate, maneuver.
Yes.
What do you think?
It'll be interesting to see. I myself believe that the mechanism for electing a presidential candidate on a national scale has been compromised in the United States.
In what way?
I say we're about as likely to re-elect the popular Donald Trump than we would be to in America than we would be to elect him in Venezuela or 1980s Iraq.
Can we have Trump versus Hillary in 2024? Can we just do a rematch? Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Come on, it'd be so much fun.
Well, you'd have to get the Democrats to play along, and they're probably not going to want Hillary Clinton to be around. She's sort of
Hillary and Kamala. Hillary and how about the
pantsuit brigade? Wow. Yeah, no, that would not light any fires, I can guarantee you.
What about Michelle Obama? I always felt she should have run this time, but that's just me.
Well, she's not, they've asked her and she says she's not going to run. I don't think that she has the gravitas to handle executive power. I think she makes a good guest on Oprah. But beyond that, beyond that, I really don't think she's equipped.
What about versus Melania? So that if they're both equally lightweight, Melania versus Michelle for the presidency. Ex-wife.
Well, Melania is a foreign alien, right? So she can't run in the first place.
Details.
I don't think either one of them would make a very good chief executive. Melania, from all that I saw, really didn't even want to be in the White House. She just sort of went along with it. She is, yes.
You need a hot president. That's why I was going to vote for Tulsi Gabbard. She seemed like and she's hot.
They tried that in New Zealand and they fell flat on their face, didn't they?
Oh, we got the worst prime minister ever. Don't get me started. That don't smoking hippie. Oh, we're doing well with the COVID. We've only let it in 3 times. We're a team of 5 million doing nothing. Yep. Did you get your warning about the tsunami, Cockney? No, because there's no 3G signal. Thanks, PM. You go back to your reefer, you twit. Yeah, don't get me started. And that's not a political view. Just twit because I'm being polite. Yeah,
I was going to say.
Yeah, I could switch one letter and it would have been a lot ruder. No, I mean, I'll give her she's intelligent, she's articulate, she's got a brain and a heart, but at the end of the day, she's a hypocrite like the rest of them. Bollocks to her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you mentioned Tulsi Gabbard there, and she won't be able to win either. She ran in this time around, and she was by far the most, I thought, eloquent and articulate and
Hot.
non crazy of all of the people running.
Yeah, she does seem sensible, doesn't she?
She's sensible. I mean, you don't spend a career in the military as an army officer and not have a little bit of common sense. So
yes, exactly.
And for me, a lot of her policy positions I firmly disagree with, but
I like all her positions. Oh.
Who is this? Sorry, boys. Who is this again? I didn't quite
Who is
catch
she?
that.
Only the best
Tulsi
looking
Gabbard.
presidential
She's-
candidate they've ever had in the United States of America.
She's the
Hawaii.
congresswoman from Hawaii.
I didn't catch the name again. Sorry.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Right. Okay. I'll Google her later then.
Just look up hot presidential candidate and it'll go straight to Tulsi Gabbard.
But her commitment to not intervening in foreign wars just for the hell of it was an attractive proposition to me. I wasn't a fan of her gun control ideas. I wasn't a fan of some of her economic policy.
What were the ideas about gun control?
Only
gun
5
control.
automatic weapons per child.
She's on the she's a little bit further to the left of that Beto O'Rourke guy who said we'll just confiscate all the assault weapons. And as a red-blooded Californian, I think everybody needs assault weapons.
Happiness is a warm gun.
But
Tupac Shakur in the chat. Speaking of happiness is a warm gun. All right, Tupac.
Yes, speaking of guns, Tupac Shakur. Yes,
perfect timing. Who says Candace Owens and Tulsi Gabbard?
So,
I'm not a
Amanda,
fan of.
you feel comfortable with assault rifles and weapons?
Yeah, I do. I think that anyone who doesn't feel comfortable with them should not be forced to have them. But by the exact same token of logic, I don't think that people who are comfortable with them should be criminalized for having them.
Boom, boom, literally boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I don't really see how that's arguable, except that it is, against sort of the general neoliberal culture where America is one of the last few remaining, first world countries that has general access to firearms. But I don't see how that's necessarily a bad thing. Bad, stupid people are going to do bad, stupid things. They exist in all times and places. And one of the best ways of making bad, stupid people think twice before they do bad, stupid things is with the knowledge that they may get their head blown off if they try it. That's why you have more shootings in downtown Chicago than you do in rural Texas, even though you have way more guns per capita. So,
that's the problem in Chicago. You've got not enough guns.
You've got Doomcock Patrol in Texas.
Sure. Well, let's say Montana then. His army of robots could rise from the desert at any moment.
Sends out Mary Ashmead to sort them out.
Oh,
you get very channel specific.
So that's just my my take on that particular issue.
Yeah,
and so there you go. I mean, part of it too. Again, I guess rather than just personal stuff, if you're asking about it, is it's constitutional, right? So, the Second Amendment of the Constitution says very specifically and solely only that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and it's like that's so unambiguous to me that it's like you couldn't erode that right without eroding the foundation upon which the Constitution sits. And I'm very uncomfortable with having things like the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Second Amendment, the First Amendment eroded just so that some people can feel better about other people not possessing tools that they want to possess.
A well-armed populace is the best defense against tyranny.
You are very, very American, aren't you?
Yeah. I make no apologies.
America, fuck yeah.
But I mean, places like until very, very recently, New Zealand was had liberal guns. Australia, even Great Britain. The laws in Britain right now. If you had told the people back in the 30s and 20s, that, oh, you can't have any of these things, they would have gone ballistic. Every farmer had a shotgun,
Ballistic,
and
nicely put.
I like it. I bring it all together. So it's to me, again, it's a part of a tyrannical creep, right? Of government trying to say, well, you can't do this, and pretty much everyone can agree that no one needs a machine gun, right? Oh my God, who needs an MG42? But it's like, well, okay,
car.
and
I
so
don't
a
need
reasonable.
one, but I want one.
Right. I mean, and a reasonable person, though, could say, well, yeah, they don't need that. And then you can go, well, what about an AK-47? Okay, you don't need that. Well, what about, a Tommy gun? And then you're whittling it down until, well, you don't need,
Beretta,
a
Glock
one-shot
17, Uzi 9
flintlock
millimeter,
revolver.
Desert
So
Eagle, M16.
I'll take them all.
Exactly.
And
Good
then
lad.
once you've eroded that right, then you can start on all the other ones. Like Cockney was just saying, a well-armed populace is a great guard against government overreach, and it's proven time and time again. So, there's a lot of different reasons that I would not support an infringement of the Second Amendment. That's just my say on
No,
it.
because you're right. Because that's what happened in New Zealand. The very same prime minister that didn't have the balls to legalise marijuana, except for herself, of course, took all our guns away without
not
so
bitter.
much as a. Well, it's a bit of a double standard. They're like, oh, but yeah, we had the referendum because we asked the people. Yeah, we let two old farts basically decide the fate of the country. Meanwhile, she took everyone's guns away without having a referendum, didn't she? So it's we should have referendums on what we should have referendums about, isn't it? There wasn't a gun referendum. It was just like, oh, we've had an unfortunate shooting, which we did. It was a huge tragedy for the country, for the world, arguably. But I didn't give her the right to take everyone's guns away. But that's
no,
exactly
especially
what
not
she did.
New Zealanders' guns, because that was an Australian that came in and committed the crime, if I recall.
Exactly. So don't ban guns, ban bloody
Ban
Aussies.
Australians.
Yeah. No offense, mates. No offense, blokes. But come on, mate. We
Matt,
invented the pavlova.
I'll just say, Matt Potts, are you still there, mate? You're on the threshold of getting banned off this channel, mate, for being Australian.
Yeah. Carry on up the threshold.
We just got to keep a close eye on him.
No, we love the Aussie. Australia, it was like we like to call it the West Island.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so here, in Britain, it says, farmers still have their shotguns. Some farmers do, but there's what either Americans or old-fashioned British people would say an unfair burden placed on them to keep those. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't most guns have to be held like at a constabulary armory or something like that? And it's hard to get ammunition and things. As opposed to just, well, you have the gun, you have it in your closet, and if Peter Rabbit wants to get into the lettuce patch, well, Farmer McGregor will just go out there and blow his head off. It's
just
not.
It's going back. Farmers still have shotguns. A guy phoned in a farmer. A farmer threatened to shoot his dog because it wasn't on a lead.
Well, maybe he thought it was a fox, or maybe it was chasing his chickens. So keep it on a lead.
But fox.
So you're going to have more respectful neighbors, I guess. I don't know, but that's just my take on the whole guns matter.
Urban foxes, you need a gun, definitely.
For Americans, it goes all the way back, doesn't it, for you? It's just so in the blood.
I mean, it goes back to the founding of the country.
Day one.
The amendments. It goes back to the shot heard around the world was the moment when the United States became a nation. I mean, when the American colonists fought back with force of arms against the British, and that was because the British were coming to seize weapons that they had stockpiled in that particular village in Lexington, I think it was, for against Indian raids and stuff. And the Americans said, we will not let you take our guns. And then you go back even further, into the early colonial days, and the gun was really the only thing between civilization and a healthy and prosperous family and farm, and your scalp sitting inside of a teepee somewhere. And so it's very, fundamental to our, not just our identity, but to our understanding of a successful, free and prosperous existence. I don't think that that's necessarily the same way in Britain because you guys tamed the Scots fairly early on.
No, we've never tamed them, mate. I don't know where you get that from.
Right, the Saxons.
They're rising again at the moment, mate.
1066. The Normans tamed the Saxons before hundreds of years before we got any gunpowder off the Chinese. So maybe that's the example. That was the last nearest thing to an indigenous population. The Normans taking over from the Saxons. But that was almost 1,000 years ago.
If I was a Brit, I would get very handy with a longbow. I don't know what the regulations there are for banning those kind of things, but
you're still allowed to shoot a Welshman apparently in Liverpool or something like that with a longbow. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they did studies where they found that English longbows were actually more effective than firearms all the way up into World War I. So it's like that's what I'd be doing. But then I have this idea that, like a lot of Americans, that to be armed is to be safe. So there you go.
I put in the chat Team America. Have you seen Team America?
The movie?
With,
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, me neither.
But
I know the song.
I think maybe
America. Fuck yeah.
Well, yeah. I think what we should do, Commander, is shall we do like a review of Team America? Or a watch party of Team America, and you can you've got to be on the channel. You're the main man for it, yes?
Well, I'd be honored to.
I just think it'd be quite interesting.
It came out in the George W. Bush sort of era, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ethos might be a little bit different, a little off and older, but I'd be happy to look at it. I think it deals like with North Korea, something like that. Seems funny enough.
It is funny. I've seen it. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Funny how? Like a clown?
What am I, like a clown to you?
It's very it's very cutting. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Like a knife?
The only time I've seen it and Cockney.
That's not a knife.
The only time I've seen it. The only time I've seen it was when I'd come back from a rave.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy!
I was off me playing Space Invaders.
Oh yes.
I thought someone had put on a 2-hour puppet show, but no. Turns out I was watching America.
This isn't very Jerry. This isn't very Thunderbirds.
Jerry Anderson. Thunderbirds are go to North Korea. Over the 47th parallel.
I think we should do it because I think it'd be amusing, Commander. You up for it?
I just thought, is there a North Korean Blondie? Because they could release an album called 48 Parallel Lines. All right, that's one for the old heads out there.
That's a thinking man's gag. It's a thinking man's gag.
All right, I tickled myself with that one. Which parallel is it that separates North and South Korea? 38. Is it 38?
38, yeah.
So there you go, 38 Parallel Lines. There you go, Blondie's North Korea album.
Commander,
I've been hanging on the peace line telephone.
Is there anything you don't know?
Plenty.
Kim Jong-un's inside trouser measurement.
That I know nothing about British comedy magazines.
Viz?
Vis-a-vis?
Yes. I learn something new every time I come on here.
You should Google Viz. I'm sure there'll be plenty of online.
Google other search
Well, I
engines.
did Google Viz while we were talking, and what comes up is the Viz that I'm familiar with, which is the anime company. That it's an American company that buys Japanese anime and translates them and sells them to an English audience. I know Viz, but I don't know Viz. So I'll do a deeper dive.
It's VIZ.
Or Z, depending on how you like to
we
say
call it Z. We call it Z, but
Right. Yeah. That's what I looked up. I found it. It was on. It was like the 8th search down after all the anime stuff.
All right.
Just
Viz
add in
Comics.
Newcastle, Viz Newcastle,
Viz
and then fat
Comics.
slags. Viz Comic
Okay.
Newcastle fat slags.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff online for you to read and get the
Get the gist.
get the gist of it. Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look. But learn something new every time.
I also recommend the top tip. Did I tell you that my life changed because of Viz top tips? Because I actually took a Viz top tip seriously. Because I was living in Luton at the time, and it said avoid misery and possible suicide by moving out of Luton, Bedfordshire. So I emigrated to New York. True story.
So Luton was worse than New York.
Yeah, Luton. I've been back to Luton. I think the top place actually. Top people. Shout out to Luton. But in the late 80s, it was just a bit.
They make cars there.
It had just after they shut down the Vauxhall factory, it was just a bit depressed and a bit depressing.
Speaking of, okay, you guys reminded me of something, and I'm going to change the topic a little bit if I have the permission.
Go for it. Yeah, of course.
Speaking of the 80s and depressing stuff and Britain, there was a movie, a BBC movie that called Threads. Did you guys ever see that movie?
It was so depressing, I switched it off. So good link.
That's the
nuclear one. Yes.
It made the day after look like bloody Captain America.
It did. I watched, like I read about it, and then I thought, I've got to find this movie, and I couldn't find it anywhere. They don't produce it. The BBC doesn't sell it like Fawlty Towers or anything like that. And so I had to get a bootleg copy. Bad recording sound and all that. And I watched it. It was really good, but it was like mind-numbingly depressing, scary actually. And and so it said that this movie had a huge impact on the anti-nuclear movement in London, the push against sort of Thatcherism, against the Pershing missiles that Reagan was putting in Europe.
Thing.
I think Frankie Goes to Hollywood was #1 the following day.
2 Tribes. It was about that time. Was that 84? We'll have to fact check that. If it was great video, by the way. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, 2 Tribes. Check it out on YouTube after the Brown Show, of course. 2 tribes go to war. A point is all that you can go to war. Working for the black gas. Yep, brilliant, fantastic.
I was just wondering if you guys had seen that, and what your thoughts were.
It was I think it is literally the only TV
I
show
don't think
or
I
movie
have.
I remember I switched it off. It was so depressing, and I ended up reading my American Flag comics. I even remember that's how specific a memory I've got of it. Yep, it was that bad, especially because it was at the time, because it was like this could literally happen tomorrow.
Yeah, everybody was frightened.
Right?
Yeah.
It was very realistic, and they spent a lot of time building up the characters and the life. It wasn't just like, something's on the radio now, let's deal with it. It was like, you really got invested in these characters, and and then it just everything went to complete shit. And if you turned it off halfway through, you missed the really bad stuff. Later on.
Damn.
Don't you think there was just so much naivety about the entire? If the bomb goes up, you could live in a nuclear winter.
If you paint your windows white and hide under the floorboards for 2 days, everything's fine.
I think surviving would have been worse than dying.
That was one of the points of the movie, and it made the point very, very well. I think having looked into the issue, it really depends on what the exchange was like, what the nuclear exchange was like. If every nuclear warhead on Earth went off, it would be really, really, that would be an extinction level event. But certain
dinosaurs,
a limited nuclear exchange, because here's the thing. So look at this. This is one way that I looked at it. Now, I'm not saying that I advocate general nuclear exchanges, because I do not. But when the thesis here behind the whole nuclear winter and the unsurvivability of it is kind of like, well, all of this stuff would go up in the atmosphere. It would, create a nuclear winter. Everything would go bad. Well,
Yep.
after what, 200 or 300 nukes went off in cities, assumedly, right, and other places.
Radioactive dust.
Now, okay, but think about this. How many nuclear tests did they conduct? Right? They conducted hundreds to thousands, each one of which sent up just as much nuclear dust from the deserts of Arizona as they would have from the city of London.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. It's the same amount of dust, and they still sent up hundreds and hundreds of these things, and it didn't create even a blip in the radar. So now you could say, well, in a nuclear exchange, this would happen over a matter of days or hours rather than, a couple of years. But still, to me, it left me scratching my head a little bit.
Maybe it was to do with the concentration of explosions.
It's possible.
There probably wouldn't have been an area what wouldn't have been hit.
I tell you what, to flip that equation, apparently there's sorry to cut in, but just before I forget, to flip that equation, apparently all that testing has caused more damage than is generally known, because I only found about this typically through a side topic, and forgive me, I'm sketchy on the details, so I won't pretend I know the bits I don't know. But it's something about there's basically money to be made in diving for sunken shipwrecks that have a specific type of metal. I don't know which type of metal it is. I'm tempted to say adamantium, but that's Wolverine's claws. But the reason why there's basically a kind of secondhand business in dredging this stuff off the ocean floors is because all the metal above the waterline is basically been fucked by all the nuclear testing, and therefore it's only the shipwrecks that have the undamaged metal that haven't been hit by the nuclear waste that is in the atmosphere. So it's
that's kind of odd, because metal comes out of the ground when it's mined, and that would be more protective than water.
That's a good point. The unmined metal, unless it's a metal that hasn't been mined. Well, curse me for not doing the full details.
Iron ore, though, isn't it?
Iron ore what? Oh, iron ore, that kind of ore.
Yeah.
You mean like in a boat, that kind of ore?
Probably.
Yeah, they certainly have scaled back nuclear tests, and I think that they have realized that there's a lot of environmental and even economic consequences to even just doing tests.
I used to think, it's far away.
Right.
It's in the Pacific, but I fucking live here now. They used to have the tests up the road.
Oh yeah, they used to have tests in Nevada, just over the mountains from where I grew up.
Wouldn't is it the Gulf Stream or the jet stream would be a very, very big contributor to the winter?
Because that's moving anyway. Well,
that's the thing. That's the thing. What moves all the debris about?
The jet stream is what keeps the warm air coming to Southampton and England. Basically, if that moves up couple of 100 kilometers,
the perfect distribution system.
Exactly, and apparently it is moving.
That was
to do with salination in the water, isn't it?
That was what started the Ice Age in the first place, way back when, was the change in direction of the Gulf Stream. That's why they call Iceland ice and Greenland green, because the Gulf Stream went to the other side and froze out England and Iceland and left Greenland more habitable. That was even just during the mini Ice Age that they had in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, so I just thought because I've just been reading up on that because the mini Ice Age, that was just around the time 13 something. It was I think just before the bubonic plague. Yes, and the pole shift reversal as well.
Yeah. Also, which we have previously discussed that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to give if I can give my exozone thoughts on the nuclear testing real quick, I think one of the reasons that this is my conspiracy theory angle, that they stopped testing nuclear weapons all of a sudden and very quickly, except for the French, who finally got on board, as they usually do,
Bloody French.
is because somebody out there could either detect them or had detected them and was like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Or they found out maybe we don't want to be setting these things off because that's going to get some unwanted attention. Like Zephram Cochrane's warp engine or something. If you reach the nuclear age, all of a sudden people start showing up. And certainly since the 1940s, when these things started blowing up, we started seeing an increase in UFO, activity.
Easy for you to say.
It's a thought.
So it's like
It's a thought.
Because it's something you could spot from far away and say, these guys have reached nuclear level. We better start flying around.
Right, because EMP, you have these type of EMP blasts. There's X-ray things that go out. Yeah, we're just going to keep going
pulse,
out.
Is that it? EMP?
There are electromagnetic pulses generated from nuclear weapons as well. Yeah, you basically have with hydrogen bombs, you have fusion, right? You have hydrogen, you have fusion, and that's going to be detected.
Surely we could get Terminators coming in from the future.
Not time travel. No, not time travel. Cannot happen. Cannot happen.
We're going to end it there, guys.
Sounds good.
Damn. That's gone way too quick. Talk about time travel.
It has.
Fuck.
I'll just say to everybody in the chat, cheers for popping in, my friends. As I always say, we're nothing without you guys. Just keep an eye out on Twitter and your notifications. We may be popping up later. I think we're going to do a carry-on stream this week at some point. So Matt, if you're still in there, we'll get in contact about that. Commander, I think we should do the Team America thing.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, give me a date, give me a lead time, and
we'll sort that out.
I'll be ready to go.
I think that could be quite amusing. Especially if we kind of revisit culture from, say, 15, 20 years ago. I think it could be quite good.
Interesting.
Cockney, thank you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. It went so quickly. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you're always welcome, mate. Don't forget that. Cheers, Commander, pal. Brilliant as always, my friend.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Are we any nearer for your own content?
I hope so. I hope we're no more than about 2 weeks away, but I don't want to give all of my desperate fans a case of the disappoints.
Okay.
Nice.
As I said, send my regards to the flame thrower indoors. Yes,
we will.
Okay, guys. Just keep an eye out for us. We pop up when you least expect it. So, cheers, guys. A little bit of fun, bit of politics, bit of Rick Mayall, bit of this, bit of that. So, yeah. Cheers, guys. I'll play the outro and then we're out of here. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.